Hi, I'm Carole Robinson, and welcome to this edition of County Happenings, where we're finding out what's happening with the county by talking to the man in the know, the County Mayor, Rogers Anderson.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm fine. It's
a busy
closing
day.
in up on of another 2018 closing out.
Now, where did the year go?
Before you know it, we won't be in the hot weather.
Yeah.
We'll be in the cold, rainy, dreary days, and we'll say,
Where's the hot weather?
Where's the warm weather? We're ready.
I know.
But
and
the year rolls on.
I love the hot weather. I'm going to miss it the most. But yes, it's rolling on, and local elections are over with, and all the new people and people that were reelected are seated. So how's that going?
It's going very good. Of course, every single, we call them statutory positions, but every elected official on the county side, except for one, that's our Brad Coleman, our property assessor, everyone has to run every 4 years, and so this was the year. The exception to that is Brad, and then half of the school board. Half of the school board will run in 2 years, along with Brad, but everyone else had to run in 2018. Yeah. We have 7 or 8, and I use that loosely, new county commissioners. We have one county commissioner, Matt Williams, who was a county commission in the 10th district. Him and his family moved, and they moved into the 9th district, which is the Grassland area.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually where he grew up,
isn't it? Actually, he bought from the siblings the original home that he was raised in, his mother and daddy. Of course, you remember his mother was a county commissioner,
right.
His daddy was a county commissioner. And so he bought the old homestead, and so he had to leave the 10th, go over to the 9th, and then he decided to run for the 9th District County Commission. There was one open seat, and so he ran and he won, and so there was also a change in the 9th, and Todd Kestner did not come back this year. So we've got 7 new county commissioners, and then we had 3, I think, 2 or 3 commissioners that had less. They had about a year's worth of service because
they replaced somebody.
Replaced someone, of course, during the course of the last 18 months. We have lost men like Jack Walton, who was the chairman of our county commissioner out in the 8th district, who had served for 16 years, long time. Did a great job. We missed Jack a great deal, and he was replaced by a gentleman by the name of Jerry Rainey. Jerry Rainey's been around the Grassland area out in that 8th district for a long, long time, and he put his name in and was able to successfully win that seat out there. And in the 9th, we have Chaz Morton, Matt Williams. Down in the 3rd district, Spring Hill district, both of those gentlemen, Keith was a brand new county commissioner, Hudson, ran, and Jennifer Mason, who was appointed last year when someone moved out of the area, and so she had less than a year's service, doing a great job. So then you look in the 4th district, which Paul Webb's been there for several years now, and Jeff Ford ran for state representative in the 61st district, so he vacated his seat, and so we have a young lady coming in there that the name is Nations, Commissioner Nations, and some people may remember that name. That's Al Nation, who was a judge, worked Frankton Special School District for many, many years. That's his daughter-in-law. Then you go on over to the next seat where Tommy Little, who became our commission chairman. We're going to have a show on Tommy. And then filling that spot will be the ex-mayor of Nolensville.
Oh, yeah.
She will be taking over. She won the election out there, but she replaced a gentleman that had been with us for many, many years, and he passed away, and she was appointed, and then she decided to run. So she's going to be doing a wonderful job for us because she comes with that institutional background. Even though it was in a city, that'll correlate good over in the county side.
Right, right. Well, yeah, especially the county-city relationships.
And then we had Bobby Hullett, who ran for the 61st. He vacated over in the 7th district. We'll have to stop and think where they're all sitting. And so we've got a guy there, Tom Tunnicliffe, that ran. And there were several that ran for that seat, but he came out victorious in that. In the 8th district, we've talked about. The 9th district, we talked about. And then the whole back row, the 10th, the 11th, and 12th, it's pretty much the same. Robbie Bill came in on the 10th district, which he replaced by virtue of an appointment when Matt moved, and he ran. And of course, Judge Bill, a lot of people would know that name. So we've got a great deal of new faces. Almost a third of our 24 county commissioners are new faces, and so we had a meeting just recently, which the chairman, Tommy Little, was who had been vice chair, moved up to chair. His supporting cast voted him in, and Steve Smith is our vice chair now. He took over when Tommy went out.
And both of them, both Steve and Tommy, bring a lot of experience. They've been on the commission for quite a while.
There's, we're talking about in Tommy Little's district, which is known as Bethel Authors. I don't know that I mentioned her name, but Beth was two-term mayor, I think, I know one term, and I think 2 terms over in the Nolensville area, and she had been a alderman or commissioner over there. So she brings a lot to our organization. And I think so much of her abilities. I get one appointment to the planning commission, so she agreed to serve, and the commission confirmed my request that Beth serve on the planning commission, and she is very detailed, very organized, and likes good processes.
And she's a good people person. I remember several times I've interviewed her for one reason or another for things going on in Nolensville, and she was very easy to talk with.
A little trivia, in her younger life, several years ago, I won't say many, but several years ago, she worked as an aide for John McCain.
Oh my goodness.
And so there's very few of us that could say that we really worked for her under John McCain. And I think she got some of her inspiration for the late John McCain, that was a successful senator, is how we know him, but he was also a very successful
Presidential candidate.
2 times. And he might have been the House member.
He was a nominee once.
Yes. So it's we've got a quite a diverse group of men and women serving as county commission, and we had one change. And we should mention that Sherry Anderson, who's been with the county for 20 years, won an election to fulfill after Sadie Wade had been in the Register of Deeds office for 30 years.
Yeah. And worked for the county for almost 40.
Yeah. The only other person is another lady by the name of Mrs. Anderson, Elaine Anderson, that's probably had more tenure than anyone else. And I think Mrs. Anderson.
And to be clear, none of the Andersons are related.
That is true. It was interesting during the campaign trail.
Yeah. I had Anderson.
Yes, and we had a lot of Andersons running, and none of us are related. None of us really are from this. I'm from the East Tennessee side. Sadie Wade, of course, married into the Anderson, and she's from over in the West Tennessee side, and of course, Miss Elaine Anderson.
She's over from my area.
She's over in the Fairview area, and I really don't remember her maiden name. She's been married.
Because her dad used to live just down the street from me.
Well, I know that, but I don't remember her maiden name.
I'm trying to remember his last name now.
But she's been around in this area her entire life, and of course, many people will know her husband, Floyd Anderson, who worked for many years, great career, been retired for a long time now, still living out in the Fairview
Yeah,
area.
well, on Pinewood Road.
They're just wonderful folks for
Yeah.
our community. But it is a time of change, but every 4 years, you see this 25 to a third of your county commissioners, some of them decide not to run, some get, someone else comes along and it's got a better message they want to emulate. But it's true about all across the state. Under the mayors, all the mayors, there's 95 mayors, county mayors, as we refer to them, across the state. Now you've got one in the metropolitan Davidson County, and that they don't refer to him as a county mayor, but each city has a mayor.
Right.
We have 6 mayors in our county.
Yeah.
We don't think of that, but oftentimes, but these are men and women that serve for those individual cities. But there's 95 mayors across the
County
state,
mayors.
county mayors, except for metropolitan. And we had 40, I think it was 42 new mayors. Some chose not to run, some ran and were not successful. And out of the county commission, and there are several hundred county commissioners, because most county commission districts are made up. We have 24. We're one of the highest in the state, but they can drop all the way down to 11 or 13 or 15. And there was clearly well over a third, about 35% new county commissioners that rotated all throughout the United States, all throughout the state of Tennessee. And everybody on that particular time has to run.
Yeah, wow. That was a lot of things going on this past August.
Yes.
And as much as we will miss those that have left us and those that were not successful, it'll be interesting with new blood to see new ideas and what's going to happen.
So you follow the process, and for those that may or may not realize this, so the budget process, which is the single biggest thing the county commissioners do,
Right.
approve the budget. Now, there are many, many things they do that are important, but there's nothing more
But
important.
almost everything they do goes back to the budget.
Yes, absolutely. And the budget has already been approved. We go on a fiscal year, not a calendar year, and our processes start on July the 1. And so that budget was approved under prior county commissioners and prior administration. So all of those new people moving in, they're not going to change that budget
Right.
dollar amount. It's fixed. Now, you might move a little money around here and there, but for the most part, those new county commissioners coming on board, there's a tremendous learning curve for them to get up
Yeah.
to a period of just understanding
Yeah.
the way the processes work. Many people think that you've got a fund balance. Williamson County is very strong financially. It's a AAA rated county, one of only 2 in the state. That, okay, you've got a little extra money over here, we'll just take it over here. Well, you can't do that.
No.
There's a process, and some things you can do, and some things you can't do, and a lot of things that we as candidates say on the campaign trail, you can't do. But that's not that they're lying. It's not that they're not telling the truth. It's that they
just
really
don't
don't know.
Yeah.
And you can't expect people to know stuff if they don't know.
Right.
Now, you would say, well, they need to do more study. It's
There's-
a very difficult
It's one of those
things.
that, yeah, you learn by doing in a lot of cases
Yes.
with this.
There's nothing you can short circuit for experience. Now, on the other side of that, it is good to have good, fresh people that come in and bring new ideas. And we need to foster this next generation who's going to lead our county,
Right.
both from mayoral side, commission side, whatever it is. As our county grows, as our community continues to see new challenges, it's important for people to take an interest in their community, because whether you like politics or not,
It's here to stay.
it's not going anywhere. And so you want good men and women that will serve and do what you want done in your community within the framework of the law.
Yeah, and the community, Williamson County has changed a lot in the 30-some years that I've been here. And I can't imagine, it's changed a lot since you moved here, and it's going to continue to change, and that's what helps in the change, adapting in the change.
When my children we had 3 children, when those children were small, I began to get involved. I had helped in a few campaigns, like Lamar Alexander when he walked across the state in his plaid shirt back in the early 80s when he was running for governor, and I'd helped a couple of other people along the way. But when it really hit me was when the children were going to elementary school in the Grassland system, and they didn't have enough capital to do some of the things that needed to be done. Clint Callicott was the county commissioner, and prior to him was Bob Ring. At that time, Bob Ring was what I have the job now. We call it county executive. Today, we call it county mayor. And so Clint's children, Bob's son, and my children were all involved in the Grassland sports program, and that's how we got to know each other. And then there was this other guy, Charles Sargent, that kind of got involved in this whole makeup, and there was just a group of us at that particular time that took an interest in local politics, along with another gentleman by the name of Rick Berger, who was the county attorney. And so out of that came a real, we need to put back in, we need to get involved. And of course, elections come and go, and people either move to the state level or retire. But out of that came, and we were all in our 30s and young 40s. That was a long time ago.
Nah.
And so out of that came the makeup of some of the changes that we see today. It wasn't that they were bad county commissioners back there, because those were, for the most part, honorable men and women that served their community and what they thought was important. And so the next generation comes along.
Exactly, and the community was beginning to change.
Absolutely.
And the needs were more pronounced as the community changed.
That was when the county was kind of the centerpiece, the county piece, county government was the centerpiece, and cities weren't what they were today. Brentwood city government's only been around
Since the 1960s.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a very young city.
It
Now,
is.
Franklin's been around since 1799. That's a few years ago.
Yeah, which is why it's the county seat.
But we watched our values.
Yeah.
People talk about growth. People talk about traffic issues. I think for the most people, when people talk about traffic issues, they're talking about the circulatory of within the Williamson County framework. Now, there is a group of people who would argue going to Nashville to work every day, but we have as many people going to Nashville
It's coming to
as coming back in to work into Cool Spring. That's all occurred in the last 25 years. We started with the mall. I'm kind of giving a history of where we are today, and so we'll see that next evolution of growth. Some would tell you that it never stopped. And I would tend to agree with that over the last 25 years.
It may have slowed down, but it really has never stopped.
It has not. And when you look at the growth, say, of our students in our Williamson County Public School, as well as the Franklin Public School System, we're already at about nearly 41,000 children.
Incredible.
It's incredible. The budget in 1986, that was the year that I came on as a county commissioner, the budget that year was $40 million, lock, stock, and barrel, everything. This year's budget is over $500 million. So there would be some people that would look at that and say,
You can cut.
you can cut, and you've got a spending problem.
Yeah.
Well, you're keeping up with growth. The population back in the 80s was around 30,000. Today, we're at 225,000.
And you only had so many roads.
That's
and
right.
so many things that had to be, so many sheriff's deputies, and because you didn't have the population.
So we're up to 48 schools now. which is an amazing number. I heard Gary Anderson, the chairman of the school board, recently, we were doing the ribbon cutting at 3 brand-new schools on the same day this year.
Yeah.
Cut the ribbon on 3 new schools. And Gary made the statement that since 1992 was the period of time he has been involved, that they've added a new school every single year to 18 months. Now, some you'll do 3, and then you may go 2 years
Right,
before you
but the
get another.
average is-
The average is 1 to 1.5 brand-new schools since 1993. Well, that's 25 years.
Right.
And so we've added more than 25 schools. You look at how growth does not pay for itself. No matter what we charge on the fees to be able to hold those property taxes down and the city taxes down, you have to charge fees and help the system whereby as people move in, more people that move in, they need to pay for what we've already paid for here at the
Right.
local level. Now, there would be some that say, well, don't charge fees at all. Well, there's no way to do that. You either put it on property taxes or some other mechanism, but you've got to continue to building schools. I guess if you didn't build them, we'd just have all portables.
Yeah, a lot of
Because
crowded
people are
schools.
still gonna come here. I'm reminded,
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Please.
but I remember several years ago when Franklin High School was overcrowded. For one reason or another, we just hadn't decided what to do with Franklin High School. And it was so overcrowded that there was a problem there with kids fighting. And
Yes.
I mean, there was an anger issue within the school that just, because there were so many kids together.
when you have population growth, and remember, growth does not pay for itself. There's
No,
just
no.
no way. The cities have their fees, the counties have their fees. You do the best you can, but it just takes so much money for school. A high school costs $60 million.
I remember it was 25 million.
Yes. And roads are now technological highway from smart growth, smart technology. I just left Nashville this morning to get back here for this. And instead of paying with a credit card, I had a sticker they gave it, and it was kind of like an Uber or Lyft. I just put my card up there. It doesn't give you a receipt. It directly goes into my bill. That's technology at the finest.
Yeah.
And all of the technology that we've got that's going on, that costs money. And you have to do some of that technology to keep up. When you have growth, it also affects, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but it affects your court system. It affects your juvenile court system. It affects your jails. I can fee it to death at jails, and there's not enough, nobody's gonna pay a fee to get in jail.
Right.
That just doesn't work.
No.
And you can't, when someone is sentenced to jail for whatever reason, there's not enough money generated to pay for a jail. A jail will last 30 years. Our jail that we currently have, that cities send people to. Cities don't have jails.
Right.
So they're sent to the county jail. It's a 30-year investment. We will have to have a new jail in the next 3 to 5 years. A lot of reasons, just outdated, but another reason is for the
overcrowded. Yeah.
capacity. Jeff Long, the sheriff, and his staff do an outstanding job about controlling people in there, but they can't control who's going to be there from Friday and Saturday and
Right.
Sunday through the rest of the week. So as your community grows, you have more people in jail. You have, certainly in our juvenile court, Sharon Guffey does an outstanding job in her staff, Zanny Martin. But as young people, if our school system is growing, you have to expect a certain proportion of that is going to grow in the juvenile section too.
And you've only got one juvenile judge.
That's correct. We do have a magistrate that comes in and helps.
Right.
But yes, on a day-by-day basis, Judge Sharon Guffey her hair will be like mine unless she takes some alternative steps, I assure
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Because she works hard day in and day out.
So what's the plan for the judges, the juvenile, the jail?
So about 2 years ago, we put together a group of men and women, different disciplines being juvenile, judges, lawyers, citizens, lay people, property management people, to look at this and look at the numbers and look at data. And you can go on past history and past data, and you try to forecast what it's going to look like over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. But when you're having a community grow at 35 to 45% over the last 10 years, it's hard to grow a forecast. But this group got together. Their ultimate decision was to begin to have we've got to have a new juvenile center. We've got to have new detention for our youth.
Yeah, and I know particularly people are concerned because the juvenile center is in the same building as the jail.
That's right. You'll have to have it detached
Right.
the next time. And so out of that, we studied the judges and the juveniles, and we studied the jail. The jail, we think, will be holding off 3 to 5 years, but that whole element of public safety under that, we're getting a new judge just sit down at the courthouse, even though that person is going to be working in the lower counties. It's just the amount of lawsuits that occur
Right.
that come with growth.
Right. So we're in a pickle. It's almost like we're in a cusp now. We've got decisions to make that are going to affect the next 30 to 50 years.
I think you're right, and I mean, you are right, and I don't know that we're in a pickle. We're planning.
Right.
We're doing 5-year and 10-year plannings like this building. This building's been around here for a long
Since the
time
50s.
at the administrative complex. But the room we're actually in here has been reconfigured to satisfy the
Right.
Channel 3. And I think that's part of planning and getting to that point. Now, it's never quick enough. You never have enough money.
And it's also creative thinking. Let's take this building again. It was an old hospital. It was converted into the administrative complex. And as the county government has changed or grown, it has been adapted.
Yes, it has. It has. It was, when it was put in place in the late 80s, the Williamson Medical Center gave this facility to the county. They spent $20 a foot to renovate it and blow out a lot of concrete out of here. It served its need. It's paid for. That's the thing you have to remember. Just because something's old, and we
Doesn't
better
mean it's
hope.
useless.
That's right, and we need to remember
Yes.
that. We need to sell that message to the next generation.
Exactly.
That there are
Listen to your grandparents.
there are still many uses for things that get old.
Yes. And speaking of things that get old, we are done with the show. We'll see you next time on County Happenings.